Namaste, my name is Janani Bharat and today I would like to talk about the new amendments to the FCRA Act that was passed by the government on 21st September earlier this month. With these new amendments, the government is sending out a very clear message to NGOs and to civil society, and this message is either fall in line or you will be throttled. In the past, we have seen that the Modi government has targeted large activist organizations like Greenpeace India and Amnesty India. Many of their staff were sent to prison, their ability to raise funds was curtailed, and their ability to run campaigns was all but stopped. But with these new amendments, it is not only large activist organizations, but also small grassroots level service delivery organizations that will be affected. These small organizations are actually doing the work that the government is supposed to be doing in essential fields like health, livelihood, education, caste, and gender. The BJP government is known for its politics of polarization and communalism, and they use these tools to spread divisiveness and hatred in our society. If we want to preserve what shreds of democracy and constitutional values we have left, then it is very important that the civil society is allowed to perform unimpeded and unhindered. Civil society plays such a very important role. It brings diverse communities together. It provides voice to the most marginalized of people, helping these people articulate concerns or ask questions. The most important role of civil society is not only to ask questions of those in power, but to hold governments accountable. And I think this is exactly why the Modi government wants to take control of civil society organizations using the FCRA Act as a tool. I am not going to go into details about the amendments in the FCRA Act, but I would just like to discuss a point or two. The first one is one of the reasons that the amendments to the FCRA Act was brought about was in order to make NGOs more transparent and accountable. But what has actually has happened is that NGOs have been asked to provide a lot more details today. Small changes in like change of address, change of a bank account, change of a single board member, etc. have to be submitted to the FCRA division under the Home Ministry. These do not make the NGOs either more accountable or transparent. What it actually does is place a significant workload on already overworked NGO workers. And should there be a slip up somewhere, then the government is going to take is likely to take arbitrary and vindictive action against these organizations. Another reason that the FCRA amendments were brought about was in order to prevent missionary organizations from converting people into Christianity. However, if you look at historic data, which is available, this government of course does not know how to work with data. They either don't have data on critical issues or they will not look at data where it is available. But if you do look at the data, you will see that the large donor organizations have either been philanthropic organizations or foreign governments. They have not been religious-based organizations. Similarly, organizations receiving the grant in our country have not been religious-based organizations. The majority of them have been service delivery organizations, and like I said, providing very essential services in the fields of education, health, and livelihood. But probably the most strange amendment to the Act is a rule brought about by the government that only 20% of the funds received by an organization can be used towards their administrative activities. Now, this may work for service delivery organizations, but what about a chunk of NGOs that work as policy and advocacy organizations, that work as research organizations, that work as think tanks in our country, that work as training organizations? For these organizations, this kind of rule does not make any kind of sense at all. But clearly it is these kind of organizations that provide most threat to the government, and therefore this 20% rule has been brought about by the government as a direct means to control these organizations. How the organization spends its money should be a discussion between the grant making organization and the grant receiving organization. The government should typically not have a say in this matter. However, it is clearly being used as a tool by Modi to cover these think tank organizations and policy and advocacy kind of organizations. It's very important today that we raise our voice against these draconian amendments. The Voluntary Action Network of India has called the new amendments to the FCRA Act as a death blow to civil society and even to larger democracy. I agree with them. I hope you agree with me too. I am putting in a link to a petition against the amendments to the FCRA Act, and I request one and all to sign this petition. Thank you so much.